Tim. Welcome to Watch Want, and thanks for logging on. Today we're looking at the IWC Portofino Chronograph, reference 3783-02, 41 millimeters in polished stainless steel. You can see this Portofino chronograph on our website, watchyouwant.com. Buy it if you like it, and if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Watch You Want Inc. Now you can see on my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference. The IWC Portofino chronograph that you see here is a beautiful combination of classical details, perfect proportions, and a modern size. Now at 41 millimeters in diameter and 13.5 millimeters thick, it has enough presence, it has enough scale that it looks modern, but it's not so large that it dwarfs the wrist or takes on the cartoonish dimensions of some of the so-called oversized watches. Now everything about the watch is geared towards looking great and wearing even better. It has a nice flat case back with just a little bit of cup along its flanks, so it nestles into the skin, and though rated 13.5 millimeters, it actually sinks in just a little bit when you buckle it down, so it's really even closer to the skin, closer to being flush than the 13.5 suggests. Plus, you can see the curved bezel and the curved case flanks allow any kind of sleeve, dress cuff, jacket sleeve, a blazer to slide right up and over that crystal. Very comfortable, a great fit, even on a smaller wrist, even smaller than mine. Even below 15 centimeters in circumference, you're going to have no trouble wearing this watch. Now, it's got enough heft to feel like a premium product, but we are talking steel, not a precious metal, so it doesn't feel excessively hefty. And the lugs are nice and sculpted, downward canted and short, so they don't extend that far beyond the flanks of the case. And kind of in the fashion of a sports watch, they allow the strap to start its curvature around the wrist. Now you can see the strap is a high quality, semi-conforming end link piece, which is to say it has a little bit of curvature at the spring bar so that it does conform and shrink the gap between the end of the strap and the flank of the case, but it's not completely conformed, so it's not pinned against the side of the case, so it can bend straight down to arc around a wrist that's a little bit smaller. It is a high-quality alligator skin. You can see it's a square scale pattern with a monotone stitch and just a little bit of bolstering where it abuts the lug. On the underside, very supple calf skin. And you can see a gorgeous, robustly built, polished stainless steel clasp. I'm going to show you some of the detailing here. Beautifully built. It has a satin finish on the interior of the swing arm. IWC Schaffhausen, polished on its flanks, polished on its exterior, engraved, even polished on its underside. This is a very substantial clasp, and when you snap it shut, you can hear the tolerances that IWC designs into it. Very, very sturdy, up to the standards of the case, the dial, and the IWC reputation. Speaking of the case and the dial, they have a lot of character. Now, not only are the lugs nice and shapely, with gorgeous detailing such as the scalloped underside and almost skeletal proportions when viewed head-on, you can see how they swell as you turn the watch to an isometric angle. IWC does a lot of work playing with light and playing with the effect of light on metal. With this watch, from the step of the bezel to the sunburst pattern of the dial, it's all about subtlety, and the dial's really key to that, because a lot of information is conveyed. You have the chronograph functions, you have the hours, minutes, and seconds, you have a day and a date, but yet it's not busy, and it's not huge. IWC makes the most of the space by pairing the minute track and the indices, the applied gold indices of the hour track, to a bare minimum. The focal point is the sort of cruciform complication layout, where you have your small seconds, you have your chronograph minutes and hours, and you have the day-date. Everything is balanced vertically and horizontally, and the foy hands, a sort of leaf pattern, are the perfect accent to a watch that puts a premium on elegance. Now the luster of the dial is due to a sunburst silver metallic pattern, so the dial does have a radially outward splayed grain to it. I'm not sure how well it picks up on my camera here, but in person it's quite pronounced. The dial does not have an undifferentiated matte finish. It does have a sunburst or a sort of rayon finish radiating outward from the junction of the hands at center. Now each of the dials does feature texture sunken in. The chronograph functions feature golden chapter rings, and each one features a concentric guilloche circular pattern that adds definition and texture. Again, just adding enough nuance to break up the expanse of metal. A day-date function, the IWC caliber 79320 is based on the original Valjoux 7750. So not only do you get an automatic winding chronograph with 44 hours of power reserve 25 joules, and bomb-proof toughness, but you do get the convenience of the day and the date. I happen to like that a great deal, and I find that even in the digital age, I reference my analog date displays on my watches constantly. Now, the chronograph functions themselves are actuated by these sort of rectangular, I would say they're rounded rectangular polished chronograph triggers. You can see the case back is plain but handsome, and the look of the watch is self-consciously vintage. This rectangular chronograph pusher style was best known in the late 40s, early 50s, and it's something that really sort of gives the watch a throwback quality. As much as the proportions are modern, IWC gets a lot of mileage out of historic styling cues, details, and references here. You can see, although the watch is a tri-compax chronograph design, just as IWC references vintage chronograph styles with the pushers, the layout of the dial, which is dominated by the chronograph minutes and hours counter, actually suggests a vintage vertically stacked sort of twin register design, even though it is a 3-register chronograph. So again, visual nuance and deft use of historic cues in a modern size are the calling cards of this watch. Now, this IWC Portofino Day-Date Chronograph offers a lot of content for the money. It offers a lot of durability with a bomb-proof IWC modified 7750 movement, here doing business as the caliber 79-320. Worth mentioning, IWC does put a lot of original workmanship, craft, and engineering into the movement. It's not simply a cased up a Bausch. Rather, IWC replaces the regulator, the train wheels, the mainspring, and the mainspring barrel, adds its own unique standard of finishing to the plates, the bridges, and the rotor, and of course the rotor is blazoned with the IWC company name. So in addition to choosing a fantastic basic movement, IWC upgrades it to a higher aesthetic and mechanical grade. This is a perfect only watch. For a gentleman who wants something that can be casual or upscale, that can wear well with short sleeves or long, right up into black tie or all the way down to shorts and a t-shirt, this IWC Portofino Day-Date Chronograph is an outstanding choice. 41 millimeters in polished stainless steel with golden accents across the dial, this watch is a neoclassical reference from IWC. True to the tool watch origins of the manufacturer, it's nevertheless elegant in a fashion that will make this watch welcome in any company and any attire. You can see it and you can buy it on our website, watchyouwant.com.